Today we're going to be talking about the consequences of underage drinking. This is a talk that we've given at UNCA as well as are planning to give at local high schools here in Buncombe County. And I call this talk the most expensive drink of my life because we're going to talk about a whole range of consequences related to receiving an underage drinking citation. Any person that is charged with underage drinking in Buncombe County is going to have a lot of items to take care of in order to have that charge resolved. Criminal consequences can include jail time. Typically that's not going to be the case with a underage drinking citation, but there could be jail time required. Probation could be possibly required by the judge. There could be community service required by the judge, fines, fees, court costs, community service fees. All of those could be required by the court. Most underage drinking citations are mandatory court appearances, so somebody would have to appear in relation to the charge in the courthouse. There are times when there can be what are called waivable underage drinking citations. Typically it would be for somebody that is 19 or 20 and is charged with just mere possession of alcohol. But there are waivable underage drinking citations that could just be paid without having to actually go in front of a judge. There are a number of different ways to take care of a underage drinking citation in Buncombe County. The best of these is going to kind of depend on your particular circumstances, whether it would be better to fight the underage drinking ticket, to plead guilty to it, to try to work with the state to have the charge dismissed is going to depend on your particular situation. So kind of moving from the criminal consequences to some of the other consequences, the main one and the one that is kind of the subject of the talk, the most expensive drink of my life, are the financial expenses related to an underage drinking citation. The fines on an underage drinking citation, depending on the type of charge, could be as much as $1,000. So there could be hefty fines imposed. Typically that's not going to be the fine, it's not going to be the max fine. The court costs currently are $180. A community service fee, if that is required community service, is going to be $250. Probation fees, if you're put onto probation, there's normally going to be a setup fee, and then there's currently a $40 per month supervision fee that would be imposed in order to maintain probation and contact. A judge could also require that you go through what is called an alcohol assessment and comply with any recommended treatment. That is done by a third-party provider here in Buncombe County or elsewhere. And that is typically going to range between about $100 and $1,000 depending on the amount of treatment that is required and the individual provider's rates. If there's a limited driving privilege that needs to be requested in relation to the charge for some underage drinking citations, you will possibly lose licensing privileges and would have to request a limited driving privilege. That fee would be $100. If you hire an attorney on the case, then typically attorney fees are going to range from $500 to $5,000 depending on the particular type of charge. In order to have the charge permanently removed from a criminal record, there's a process called expungement. An expungement fee typically right now could range from about $0 to $175. It could be a little bit more. Again, there might be additional fees on the attorney side of things. Insurance rates could increase. Even if the charge is not driving related, your insurance rates could increase as a result of having the underage drinking citation. They can go up by as much as four times, 400%, depending again on the type of citation that is issued. There could be a drug screen required if you go through the deferred prosecution program in Buncombe County. Really, regardless of the type of charge, currently a drug screen is required for anybody going through deferred prosecution, and that is typically $25 per drug screen. There could be a civil lawsuit that would be potentially brought against somebody. So for somebody that's provided alcohol to an underage person and is receiving an underage drinking citation for providing alcohol, if that person, underage person that they provided to has gotten into an accident or a wreck or killed somebody or hurt themselves, then potentially you're looking at civil liability for causing injury to another person. Loss of scholarships could be included, so sometimes for college programs, college scholarships, you can't have any type of criminal citations. And then potential loss of either current or future employment. On the underage drinking side of things, where I normally see this is for somebody that has done really great on the ROTC program, is planning on going into the military, and depending on the type of the charge, this again could keep somebody from joining the military. The next thing that we're going to be looking at would be the time consequences involved. And this is something that I think a lot of times can be taken lightly, but it's pretty important because there's a lot of time commitment that is going to be required in order to address this type of citation. Anytime you go to court, there is a good chance that you're going to be sitting in the courthouse for hours before your case is called in front of the judge. If you have to do this multiple times, then just the time spent in court can be as much as 10 to 15 hours. Outside of the court setting, you're going to possibly have to meet with a number of different providers in the area. Again, an alcohol assessment and treatment, as much as 30 hours, typically not more than 30 for an underage drinking citation, but maybe as much as even 50 hours of treatment time could be required. Community service, normally you're looking at about 20 to 40 hours of community service if there's a community service element. The next consequence that we're going to look at are the driving consequences. And as we said before, even if your underage drinking citation is not driving related, you can lose your license. Those convictions will get reported by the clerk's office to the Division of Motor Vehicles, and effectively, depending again on the particular type of citation, the DMV can suspend your driver's license. The next consequence that we're going to talk about are really the most important consequence to me, and it's the life consequences of receiving an underage drinking citation. The way that an employer looks at a criminal offense or a criminal charge is really going to depend on the individual employer, but all else being equal between yourself and another applicant, the employer is typically going to take somebody that does not have any criminal background. And the way that an employer thinks about the situation is they're going to say this person has committed an illegal act, they're capable of breaking the law, and so that is going to be a negative if that comes in a background check performed by that employer. Reputation is also something that is very important. So even for people in high school, for people in college that are in their early years in college, on Facebook or online somewhere, showing themselves, committing illegal acts, even if they're not charged with those, and those are very potentially damaging to your reputation. It's something that an employer is taking into account as they do a search. Looking at those pictures, you've got to be very careful to protect your reputation, not only staying out of trouble with the law, but just in general making a good name for yourself and making your online reputation, which is constantly becoming a much more important aspect of a person's life, making sure that is as clean as it can be.